as the foundation, I mean, I think a lot of the time the people think the foundation operate in isolation, but the foundation is also working with legal counsel, signing agreements, doing things day to day all the time. Where do you guys normally work with the foundation and step in? And Carl, when do you sort of work with legal counsel, sort of running this day to day? I think one of the things we've recently seen is movement, where there were some legal agreements that were reviewed, there were some questions around it, etc. So, what is the sort of day-to-day operations and interaction between legal and the foundation?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Being very objective, I think it's important, as mentioned before, to have independence. So the legal counsel for the foundation and the legal counsel for the labs entity should, as far as possible, be distinct. Right? I think, generally speaking, at points in time, I think just because of comfort with the working relationship between founders and existing legal counsel, there's no such dichotomy. And of course, ultimately, it boils down to the level of growth of both the labs entity and the foundation itself. At which stage should you introduce new legal counsel? Whether it's required, what's the legal counsel's role, etc. But in terms of reviewing of contracts, yeah, I think there must be clear dichotomy in terms of conflict of interest. That's critical because you want to avoid any situation in which the foundation is not at arm's length with the labs entity, and then this would create conflicts going forward.
And yeah, just to add on, I think honestly there's quite a lot of synergies or collaborations that we can do with, for example, the legal counsel would do with someone like Carol and Lema. Even the proposals, or for example, he was just talking about the claim side, where the terms, what happens to the tokens that are not claimed after a certain time period. All these can be discussed, can be put into proper documentation, and I think even beyond just our own expertise, there are all these terms, commercial terms, which we both have a bit of experience upon. For example, we can just draft it in that these would go back to the foundation, and then subsequently, however the council members deal with it or with proposals, I think there's a lot of collaboration between what Lema does and what we do in terms of drafting, for example, what happens, and just putting it in nice, proper, definitive language so that there's no ambiguity going forward, as we've seen that contracts with so much ambiguity, so much issues just give rise to problems down the road if it really blows up. So yeah.
It's a close relationship.
Yep.
As more often than not comes up with clients, Lema is not legal counsel. We are not lawyers. And yeah, I suspect on the directorship side, that question comes up a lot as well, actually.
Yeah.
Generally, on a day-to-day basis, we're not engaging frequently with legal counsel because it's broad strokes operations. But anytime that you start wanting to move in a new direction, you have certain plans that you want to execute on, and that involves new legal agreements, new team members that's joining in certain specific capacities, and there's new outside third contract parties in order to build, design, or facilitate that project. Legal counsel becomes important. And legal agreements keep on changing. You brought up movement. From a market making perspective, like you have your market making agreement that was signed. Legal counsel reviewed, everybody will align on that. In 2 years' time, you might be signing a new market making agreement. Even with the same market maker, the legal agreement has not remained the same for 2 years. So at that point, it's pick up the phone, call in legal counsel and say, hi, we're signing a new market making agreement. Yes, it's the same entity as the previous one, but can you please take a review, let us know if there's any terms that we are missing or that we should be concerned about. And then it's also, ensuring that the legal advice aligns with jurisdictions. As I know, lawyers can't advise on jurisdictions they're not licensed in. So if you have a legal agreement that's signed in the Cayman Islands, and the other side is maybe in Singapore, it's important to understand that on the foundation side, you've got legal counsel for the Cayman Islands vehicle, and somebody at least there understands the Singaporean side, and we're happy with that agreement for it to be signed. So that's the close alignment when it comes to legal counsel, and I think it's a very important part about the structure and the process we're in. We've talked about the formalization of this industry. Formalization of industry means that lawyers are also involved at the right times in order to ensure that transactions are smooth and facilitated correctly.